Welcome to Get Real with Brian Stuckey, an all-new program to get you real information about how real estate affects you, your family, and your community. Brought to you in part by Bankers Network Corporation. And now, Brian Stuckey.
Good evening. Welcome to Get Real. I'm Brian Stuckey, and I have another wonderful program for you today. In the Spotlight segment, I'm going to start out with Clay Ellliott. He's the Bay Area Director of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's going to talk about his organization, but also an exciting event coming up, Bowl with the Pros. We're going to talk more about that, where you can meet and bowl with some 49ers, some Sabercats, and other professional athletes. And then next I'm going to be talking to you in the camera. I'm going to be in the By the Numbers segment. I'm going to be talking about this is a great time to go ahead and buy a property and refinance. We'll talk more about that. And then finally, I have Nancy Pyzel coming on. She's a financial planner with a group called A Life Well Spent. And she's going to be talking about a quality life. Well, exactly that, a life well spent. And we'll look forward to talking to her. But first, Clay Ellliott in the Spotlight segment. In the Spotlight segment, I have Clay Ellliott. He's back by popular demand, my demand, to have him come on the program. And Clay, once again, thank you for coming on.
Glad to be here. Thanks, Brian.
First of all, FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, is an organization that reaches out. Of course, it's around athletics and Christian athletes, I assume. So why don't you tell a little bit in a capsule what it's all about?
Fellowship of Christian Athletes has been around about 50 years, 55 years now. Locally, about 10 that I've been on staff. And really what we try to do is empower the Christian athlete to make a difference on the campus, in the community, with the people that they rub shoulders with. So it's really an outreach type thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you mention on campuses, so a lot of what you do is working with high school students coming onto campus. What's that look like exactly?
Well, I mean, we try to build a team, a leadership team filled with coaches and student athletes, and then from there we train them, we challenge them to go into the campus and take their message, take the truth, take their stories, and try to make a difference on the campus.
Okay. Now, with the political correctness that goes on in our world, especially when you're talking about students, there seems to be a lot of sensitivities direct that way. And with the diversity that we see in America especially, do you run into resistance on campus or even outside campus?
We do, but years ago, Ronald Reagan, our president, came up with the Equal Access Act, which is an act that allows, if there's a club on a campus, then we're allowed to start a club on the campus. So there is resistance at times. I mean, sometimes even the administration is not aware of that act, and so it creates a problem. But and sometimes we have to fight a little bit, but so far so good.
Okay. Now you mentioned it's to empower the Christian athlete. Now, two things. Do they necessarily have to be a Christian to join the club or be a part of the club, and do they have to be an athlete?
Well, if you're going to be in leadership, you need to be a student Christian athlete, yeah. So we have some stuff that they need to fill out, make sure that we're on the same page. But if you're sitting next to a friend in class that who's a buddy who's not a Christian, who is not an athlete, and you want them to come, then actually the club's designed for that type of person. So
okay.
It's a good opportunity.
Okay, and then also you have experienced a lot of great support from professional athletes, when it comes to FCA. And I need to take a minute real quick to say that this segment's going to be a 10-minute segment, to the director. So. But you have gotten a lot of support from professional athletes, and how does that come about that you can get that much support, let's say from the 49ers, the San Jose Giants, or the various local professional teams, the Sharks?
Well, I mean, it's tough. A lot of times it takes time, and we might have a connection with one or another through outside resources, people that we know or whatever, but ultimately it's an opportunity for them. So sometimes they find us. It's a combination of that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, They must have an interest in pretty much, knowing what they went through. Maybe they were a spiritual person or a Christian going through high school and college. Maybe they weren't.
We have clubs at the high school and the college level, and so a lot of times these athletes come out of a university that has a very active FCA program, and they'll get signed by the Niners or the Giants or the A's and the Raiders. There's even Christians on the Raiders.
Yeah.
And they'll come and they'll want to be a part. Yeah, thanks for laughing on that. They'll want to come and be a part of our ministry, and so they'll come and speak to the student athletes at the schools that we're involved with.
All right. About the Raiders thing, I used to ask a pastor friend of mine, just go like, how can you be a pastor and dress up like that, and go to a Raiders game and sit in the pit there?
Hey, the Raiders need Jesus too,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Bowl with the Pros.
Yeah.
This is the third annual event that you've had. When's the date?
May 20th at the AMF 300. It's across the street from the Oak Ridge Mall.
Mm-hmm. And last year I was there myself, and it was a tremendous event. For all the people there, it was a very special opportunity to rub shoulders.
Yeah.
You had the linebacker there, Willis,
Patrick Willis.
Patrick Willis, that just was voted the Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and so he was there, and also Bryant Young, who had just retired. And I couldn't believe how big Bryant Young was, and but they were just all having fun. They're patting you on the back, supporting you as you're trying to knock all the pins down. But what's this event mean to you as far as Fellowship of Christian Athletes?
Well, it's a fundraiser, and so and I like the idea of bowling as a fundraiser, where we encourage individuals to buy a lane. Costs $1,000 to buy a lane, and you get to bowl with a pro. This year we'll have Niners. We'll have the women's soccer team has come into town. We'll have a women's soccer player, Allison Whitworth, will be there with us, and we have some earthquakes coming this year, and it's a great time. As you said, you're not distant. You have a guy right next to you on your left, a guy on your right that is a pro, and that you usually get to be up close and personal with them at that level.
Well, let's see some pictures right now, if we can, of last year's event. If we can throw those. There you are, Clay, talking to people, kind of give them an introduction of what's going to be happening. You can see some of the participants. This is a check-in, I guess.
Yes.
So check-in.
Yeah.
And
there's Tanner Gardner. He's a Stanford wrestler, All-American. He came and spoke as well.
Yeah, so Tanner Gardner, that's the guy in the orange shirt there.
Orange shirt, yes.
Yep. And
there's food. Yeah, you gotta have food.
Until we eat again.
There's Matt Kinsinger. He's a Sabercat.
I imagine he's an offensive lineman. But
no, he's actually a fullback, if you can believe that. There's Guy McIntyre. Guy's on our board and very active with us. Guy will speak a lot in the schools as he is our one way to play spokesman.
And he's an all-pro with the Niners for many years, but go ahead. Who's this? What's this?
On the right there is James Rowe. He's maybe the best receiver ever in the Arena Football League, and then just a bunch of other people that want to come and rub shoulders with these guys.
Yep, next.
There's a couple, Arnez Battle and Brian Guilford, who's no longer with the Niners.
All right.
And then you have Rigo, and Rigo's on staff there in the middle, and a couple of players of the Sabercats again.
Okay. Next.
That's the whole group. You'll see Patrick Willis there in the middle with his hat turned around, a red shirt, the All-Pro, and just the whole group.
And then I think you got, you had one more. You had another one of Bryant Young and Patrick Willis, but anyway, it's a tremendous event. I know it takes a lot of work to put this on. Yeah. What you're looking for is to get people who put a group of 9?
7.
7.
A team of 8 with the pro, and the goal is to raise money to send kids to our camps.
Okay, so if you get a team of 7, you're going to be having one of these pros bowl with you.
Well, actually, if you have $1,000 and you want the lane by yourself, you got a pro by yourself. So there you go.
And I don't know if it's called AMF.
The AMF 300.
AMF 300. It's over by Oak Ridge Mall in San Jose. It's a beautiful place. It's a private area too, by the way. So for this event, it's necessary because there's a lot of people that want to go in there and meet these guys, these professional athletes. But no, it's specialized just for the FCA group that evening. So that's May 20th. What day is that?
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, May 20th.
At 6:30.
At 6:30, and goes till about 9:30, and they do get out early. I think people pretty much were bowled out,
Oh, yeah.
By the time it was over.
Yeah, the bowling has almost become secondary. It's the fun being with everybody else.
Yeah. If you have any questions with regards to how you can get enrolled and going ahead and being in this fundraiser event,
yeah,
thank you, Clay. Thank you. I need some help a lot of time. May 20th. Go ahead and get a hold of me at brian@forbestloan.com or give me a call at 408-269-8366, and I'll point you in the right direction, get you a hold of Clay and Kelly Elliott, who are the Bay Area directors. And what is your email, Clay?
C. Ellliott, that's ELLIOTT, @fca.org.
If you didn't get that, please, once again, get a hold of me and we'll make sure it happens. I'll be right back. I'll be looking at the camera in the By the Number segment. Thank you, Clay.
It's good to be here.
We'll be right back. Yeah, no, you're out. Okay, go around this. We'll do that one.
I need to unhook, don't I?
In the property page segment, I basically just want to look right at you, viewer, because I want to tell you that this is a great time. If you're interested in buying a property, this is a great time to do it. It's the housing prices are lower than I think we've ever seen. They've been reduced, of course, because of the disaster that we've gone through with the housing market and everything. And unfortunately, the people that were hit the hardest by that have had to find other housing, or they're still going through a foreclosure situation. But the benefactors are you who are looking to buy a home. Some people are looking at it as an investment to go ahead and buying a property, and hopefully it moves up. But lenders are making it very hard for them to do that. What they're looking for is first-time home buyers. And so if you're a person that you're looking for a home for the first time, they've got great programs out there for you to pick up on these homes. That's who it really wants to. That's who the housing industry really wants to help. Is that if they're going to replace people into these homes, they want it to be first-time home buyers. So there are things that you can take advantage of. Condos right now, you're seeing in the Santa Clara Valley that are on the market for $300,000 or less, or maybe a little bit more, but in that ballpark. And so that's a great opportunity to get into a townhouse or condo situation. You're seeing that single-family residences, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, even in some cases 4-bedroom, 2-bath, that you're seeing those in the upper 500s and the 600 range. And so that's incredible. So if you are somebody that's interested in buying a home, this is the time. Not only that, but you've got mortgage rates in the 4% range, or in the 4s. You're seeing them 4.5%, 4 3/4, and that's unheard of as well. So if you've ever looked at 2 ingredients that you're looking for as far as buying a home, it's when you've seen prices depressed as they are and mortgage rates being as low as they are. Those 2 things equal a great opportunity for a home buyer. Some of the first-time home buyer programs as well is that you have is, that they're looking at is an MCC program. That's a mortgage credit certificate, and that'll lighten up your tax burden as part of your mortgage payment. In a mortgage payment, you have principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and that'll lighten up the tax part. There's FHA loans where you can put as low as 5%, actually 3% down in order to get into a home. And so that's another program available to you, and I think you should take advantage of it. Now, it's also a great time to refinance. And that's for people like myself. I've got a 5-year loan that rolls into an adjustable rate for me in 2 more years. I have no idea what it's going to look like in 2 years. I got a feeling it's going to be pretty ugly. And so this is a great time, and I'm encouraging you to go ahead and, if you can, refinance now, even if it means bumping up your payment a little bit, to make sure that you take advantage of the low rates that we're seeing right now. Now, the problem side that we have of these things is that you can't just expect that the lender is going to give you a loan. If you're self-employed, you can't get by doing a stated income loan anymore. You need to show that you actually make the money that you state on on your loan application. So be prepared to show, if you're not self-employed, that your pay stubs and W-2s. But if you are self-employed, you got to provide 2 years of tax returns to show your income. Also, you need to show 2 months. You need to show 2 months of bank statements, all pages, showing what you have as far as what's in the bank, and as well as you need to show other assets like 401ks, stocks, bonds, IRAs, mutual funds. And then finally, if your credit scores, you think they might be beat up a little bit, now is the time to go ahead and get those reviewed. Someone like myself or another mortgage broker can look at those and teach you how to get those credit scores up, because that is a crucial thing that lenders look at even in today's market. So those are some tips. I'm going to be coming back in a moment with Nancy Pyzel. She's a financial planner with a life well spent, and we're going to be talking to her in the By the Numbers segment. We'll be right back. I've got as my guest my neighbor and also my financial planner, Nancy Pyzel. She does a wonderful job. Nancy, I've had people who've worked with you in the past, and they really like part of the term bedside manners, as if you were a medical doctor. You know, people appreciate that, you know, how you discuss things with them, because a lot of times, boy, when they're sitting down with you, they're having a tough time grasping what they should do with their money. But what I want to talk about is not just about money and what you do with your money. It's about the quality of your life, as you know, as your name of your company appropriately states, a life well spent. Now, the people are concerned about the economy. You know, a lot of times their savings have just been devastated. They lost all this money, whether it be in stocks, bonds, or their 401ks or whatever. In a situation like that, when they're losing, but they've still got a job and everything else, how do you sit down and talk to them about what they should be looking forward to in the future?
Well, generally, I will start out with what their goals are. If they're still in their 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s, and their main concern is that their retirement savings have gone down in value, then we want to look at the long-term picture. We want to say, what are you going to do with this money? Are you going to need it now, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 or 30 years? If it's money they're not really going to need for 20 or 30 years, and even somebody who's retiring now is going to need some of that in 20, 30 years, because their retirement at 65 may last for 25 or 30 years. Over a long period of time, those investments should go up. If they're going to need some cash in the next, say, 5 years, we want to make sure that that's kept liquid, that you have that in something, some sort of savings account or a certificate of deposit, a treasury, something that's very secure and won't go up and down a lot in value, that won't have the volatility. So the number one criteria that we look at, or variable in deciding what to do with their money, is when do you need it? What's the time frame? And then we take a look at what other resources do they have, and you know, whether that job is secure, because a lot of times not only have people lost a lot of their value of their retirement savings, but you know, their company may be laying people off. So we want to make sure that the risk of losing their job is backed up by maybe 3 to 6 months living expenses, at least in some kind of savings plan, so that that's liquid, and that they have disability insurance, life insurance, that other risks are covered. So if something should happen to them, their family is taken care of.
Yeah, you know, it's always interesting because, you know, a lot of people live on the whim. And I'm one of them. You know, it's like I like to take off on these vacations whenever I want to and everything else, but it's not taken into consideration that if something did happen to me.
Right.
You know, because I always think I'm invincible. You know,
that's very easy to do, and we need confidence. We don't want to live in an atmosphere of fear, and this is what has created a lot of the problems today. Is we went from a very free lifestyle where credit, very easy credit, cushioned the pain. If we didn't have enough money to buy what we wanted, we bought it anyway. And now the pendulum has swung the opposite direction, where everybody is afraid. The banks are afraid to lend money to anyone. People are afraid to take the next step to start a new business because they are afraid that things will always be like that. So when times are, you know, living is high, people think that that will continue forever. when we're down in the dumps, we think that will continue forever. And I think it's important to figure out what it is you really value. What's the most important thing to you? And it may be your faith, it may be your family, it may be personal growth, it may be the environment, it may be, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, or another cause that you feel very passionately about. It may be your health. And I think it's important to list your values, put them in writing. And I break them into categories because there are so many things that we value and you have to prioritize. But basically 3 categories. You've got safety and security, and people have different areas of comfort with that. Some people really, need to own their home and they need to feel very secure, and other people maybe would be comfortable with less. But you want to make sure you got food, clothing, shelter, some savings for the future. And then personal growth is the next general category.
I'm sorry, but with
Okay.
safety and security though.
Yeah?
When you talk about financial, some tangible things that you would do in safety and security. What would, being a financial planner, what are you suggesting with that then?
Well, I find out what their personal comfort level is, first of all, because you can either accept risks or you can take steps to ensure them. So I want to find out, if it's husband and wife, does each of them make enough that they could support the whole family and provide college savings for kids and retirement without the other one's income? Most of the time the answer is no.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that they understand what their risks are. One of them could die, one could be disabled, they could get laid off. They could get sued and lose everything. So we want to make sure that all those basic risks are covered, and then we want to have probably 3 to 6 months at least living expenses set aside for emergencies. And then we want to start building for future goals, college education for kids, retirement, maybe a house if they haven't purchased one.
Okay, so that'd be within the safety, security.
Yeah, those are safety and security issues.
I didn't know if you meant an alarm system at your house or, or a big dog in the backyard.
That could be. That could be. I mean, those are also included in that. It depends on your comfort level too.
Okay.
So certainly making yourself lawsuit proof, and also preventing the risk of burglars breaking in and that sort of thing. And it depends on how much you value possessions too. For some people that's not really their biggest priority. But then you also look at personal growth. Do you want to make sure that you're physically fit, that you stay healthy?
Okay.
Do you want to make sure that you're growing physically or spiritually, intellectually? Do you enjoy art and music? There's a lot of different areas of personal growth. And if you're stagnating, if you're not really growing personally, there's a lot of dissatisfaction, and people don't really understand that it's there, that they're just sort of, they went through college and they were in great shape and all that, and now they're just sort of going to work, going home, watching TV, drinking beer. They're not going anywhere personally. And so they, try to make themselves happy by buying a lot of stuff. Let's party and now I feel good, and so I can go back to the daily grind, which the job I really hate and all that. And so I think people need to recognize if they value personal growth in some area or another, they need to pursue that. And they're not really going to be happy by, getting their nails done or buying a sports car.
What's interesting about that, because as you're saying these things, I'm thinking about how does this fit into a financial planning thing, but I'm thinking, but at the same time, I'm realizing that by bringing up these topics, personal growth would be like, are you going to budget for a health club membership?
Possibly.
And are you going to cut down on maybe going out and having a frivolous life out there in order to have a healthier lifestyle, that's not going to cost you a lot of money down the road.
Right.
And
I know that this
because you can get a DUI or something like that because you're running around and doing, really, I mean, all these things add up. Having a healthier lifestyle is going to save you money ultimately down the road.
It could be, and they don't all cost money. Important to get your values down first. They're not all budget items. I know this section of the show is called By the Numbers, but everything isn't always by the numbers,
Okay.
The things that can be counted aren't always the things that count.
Okay.
But there are areas of personal growth that you might pursue that might reduce your budget because you don't need to spend money on this other stuff that didn't make any difference. One of the areas where I can see is a real concrete example is a lot of Americans feel that it's their constitutional right to go out to dinner at least once a week, maybe more often, and buy a lot of fast food. And if you can integrate into your family routine cooking together or doing something simple, then and making it sort of a social event, you know, you don't really need to go out to dinner. And I see a lot of money going in that direction because, you know, I worked hard, I feel I deserve it, I'm tired, you know, I don't feel like cooking and doing dishes and all that sort of thing. But sometimes if we simplify our lifestyle and make the daily routine a time of bonding with family and friends, then it doesn't have to be expensive.
It's barbecue season, so that's going to happen naturally anyway.
Yes.
So we got safety and security, we got personal growth.
Legacy.
Legacy.
How are we going to make a difference in the world? And Clay, you and Clay and a lot of other people that you've highlighted on this show have already made that part of their career. You know, that's part of their whole lifestyle, is what do I see wrong with the world and how would I like to change it? And a lot of us, you know, think about, man, you know, this is what I would change, and I wish I could make a difference in this area, and I really am going to, you know, support this cause. And at the end of the day, we find our pockets are empty and we really haven't done anything. And I think we really need to make a conscious effort to list the things that we value, and it may be a very long list of things that we want to leave to the world, our legacy. And we need to sort of narrow it down and say, okay, what are our top maybe 5 priorities? And really focus on giving financially, giving our time and our talents, and learning all we can about those areas. And even if you set aside a little bit, it can make a big difference. Okay. I mean, as a country, we are very strong. Even if each of us gave $10 a year, it would make a huge difference in the world.
And a lot of times it's a tax write-off. You know, it
is
those things. But it's so anyway. If people focus in those 3 areas: safety and security, personal growth, and legacy, then that can, based on that, you can pretty much help them get answers in order to succeed in those areas. But but it carries right over to how they should handle their finances. So it
does. Yeah, it does.
Where they put their priorities of spending their money.
It does. And I think it's a learning process. You know, just like a sports team, you got to study the playbook, you got to educate yourself, and then you got to practice. And it's not going to happen overnight, but at least we come up with a game plan. You know, a lot of times clients will come in and they want sneaky tricks, they want strategies. What's the hot investment right now? How can I save, you know, $500 a year in my taxes? And I need to say, well, that doesn't do you any good if it doesn't meet your personal goals and values. Yeah. You know, we need to start with that. Then we can come up with a financial plan. Not all of it's monetary. Some of it's just a change in your lifestyle and recognizing that you need to get everything lined up with your values. And then I think you feel good about what you're spending money on.
You know what we want to do financially, Nancy? We just want to say, this is what I've got, make me a millionaire, and get back with me when you figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, so, but no, thank you for looking at the big picture of things, because, yeah, I know people with very little that are the happiest people in the world. And a lot of it's because they have a healthy lifestyle and some of the things that you're talking about. Their legacy is basically who the people that they are, and they've given and they've done all sorts of things that made them very happy people. So, Nancy Pyzel's been my guest. She's a financial planner. She's with A Life Well Spent. If you have any questions for Nancy, please get a hold of me at 409-8366 or Brian@4bestloan.com. I'll be right back with my final thoughts. You can stay there. How much time? I want to thank my guest, Clay Ellliott. He's with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They've got the big Bowl with the Pros, and that's coming up. I'm looking for my notes. It's coming up May 20th. May 20th.
Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday. Thanks, Nancy.
6:30.
6:30 to 9:30. It's at the AMF Bowl, and that's at the Oak Ridge Mall, real close to that. Now, if you want to meet some 49ers, SaberCats, you mentioned the women's soccer team's going to be there. You're going to meet some really neat people that that are professional athletes and also share the Christian faith. So you might want to meet that. And I want to thank Nancy Pyzel for coming on. If you have any questions for Nancy, once again, get a hold of me at Brian@4bestloan.com or 269-8366. Good night. We'll see you next week on Get Real. Bye-bye. Sorry, I ran out of time there.
That was good.